Okay, for this week's Consider to Reconfigure, I'm going to look at how, at first glance, a design may tick all the boxes, may look like that it will work for you, but there's actually hidden mistakes in it that will eventually lead to cracks later on, and I'm just going to demonstrate that in this design. So this design here has, this is the front door here. And what's happening here is this is the existing line of the house, and they're adding on a extension on the side and then an extension on the back. Okay, now first glance, this design has everything. It has there's a home office in the front, there's a utility, there's a downstairs bathroom with even a shower in it, there's a big kitchen with a decent sized island. There's a separate dining area with a large dining table. There's a little snug here, a lovely bay window, and then there's pocket doors leading into what would be the main sitting room. So the first mistake that I'm noticing is the dining room, the dining area. Your dining table is only used at certain times of the day, and even maybe only once a day, especially if you have an island. You'd end up eating your breakfast and lunch here casually, especially if you have children. And even if you don't, you would sit here casually. So the dining table then, for such a large area as an add-on, actually becomes slightly unusable on a daily basis. So even though they would have spent a lot of money extending here, they wouldn't make the best use of this space. The second diagnosis I'm looking at here is obviously the snug. And you can see here, the snug is positioned in a walkway, in a corridor. It's between the kitchen and the main living space. So if you're in the main living space, in order to get to the kitchen, you're walking through the snug. And what happens then is you lose that room feeling, the cozy corner. It becomes just becomes a corridor. People sitting here on the couch looking at the TV, there'll be rows when people are walking by, you're in the way and whatnot. The other issue is that it's very tight here with the island and the space of the kitchen is very much broken up. You've got the hob over here and the kitchen sink here. So in a sense, the person cooking and prepping will actually be doing laps of the kitchen. And also with the hob here, what happens is you've a little bit of worktop on this side and a little bit of worktop on this side. And naturally, you're only going to use one side of it. So you'll use this side because it's nearer to the sink. So this side becomes a waste of space. The same thing here, kitchen's in the middle. You've got your drainer over your dishwasher. So your kettle and toaster may be here. And again, this becomes a waste of space. So for the length of kitchen that they have, they're actually only snookered to this and this. Now, obviously, they have the big island as well, but for looking at the entire size of the kitchen, they're very much reducing their worktop based on the design. Okay. I'm just going to show you now how, by making simple changes, how you can change the flow and connection of this space, but still having the same elements. So I'm going to start with the dining area, the extension box here. I'm suggesting that this becomes the snug. You have the couch here, the TV along here, you might have a chair here and a coffee table. Okay, what happens then is this room is going to be used on a daily basis. So your house now is straight away going to seem bigger because you are walking from this point all the way to this point. You're walking the length of your house on a daily basis, where you wouldn't have been if this was your dining table, because you wouldn't be entering into this space a few times in the day. So this becomes your snug. So in relation then to the kitchen and this area here, you've two options. One is this becomes your dining. And this is a good spot for the dining because it's your walkthrough. And it doesn't matter that your dining table, it works well that your dining table is in your walkthrough because you simply walk around it. And that gives, that allows then this pocket door to become double doors because there's more room now, and that gives you an option to open it or close it when you're entertaining or when you want to have an adult space in the sitting room. Coming then into the kitchen, my suggestion would be to put tall units here, your fridge, your oven, your pantry. This then leaves this entire space for worktop space, which would have your sink at one end and your hob at the other, and leaving good worktop space between the sink and your hob, because that's where you do most of your prepping. Even though you have the island here, the island here is a bit tight and will have to be reduced because the space here and here is wasn't enough for a flow between into the snug. So the island then is landing space then for the oven and the fridge. When you're taking stuff out, you land it here. So you're only now working from 2 points. The other option then is putting the kitchen here. Now what happens when you put the kitchen here is this space becomes the anchor of the room. As you can see, it's the center of the house. I mean, it becomes the anchor of the house. And this then becomes your dining area. Again, it's a walkthrough. You can still add additional storage here, and you could bring the worktop across here if you wanted to, or you could leave it as a nice seating area. The kitchen then would come around here, you'd have your island, and what happens then is when you're standing here, you can see the entire house. You have an option to see what's going on in here, and you have an option to see what's going on in here. This room is the office, so it's a permanent home office with COVID and that, so it has to be a private space. But as you can see now, straight away, this whole space, there's much more connection, there's a better flow, and you can see what's going on, and that the space is much better used, but still having the same functions. And just to make a point here that even though you put the kitchen here, kitchen down here, and the utility is still here, the utility is a separate function from the kitchen, so they can be separate. Okay guys, I'd love to know what you think. Maybe you would suggest something else. I'd love to hear.